Hola, bienvenidos al espacio común de la educación media superior en el estado de Hidalgo. Esta es la asignatura de Inglés 5 y yo soy el profesor Lalo. Te voy a acompañar en la sesión del día de hoy. Aprenderemos a construir, reconocer y aplicar los elementos necesarios para utilizar de forma pertinente el segundo condicional. Pero antes de comenzar, quiero hacerte unas preguntas. ¿Recuerdas las reglas para el uso del tiempo pasado? ¿Y los verbos modales? Vamos a verlos.
Before we start, let's remember the past of to be. This verb will be helpful in second conditional sentences. Antes de comenzar, recordemos al verbo to be en pasado. Este verbo será de ayuda para las oraciones del segundo condicional. Let's get started. As you remember, the verb to be in past means in Spanish fue or estuvo, and we can express feelings, places, or adjectives. Read and listen to the next exercise. Como ustedes recuerdan, el verbo to be en pasado expresa el fue o estuvo, y podemos expresar sentimientos, lugares, adjetivos, etc. Lee y escucha el siguiente ejercicio. I was in the party last night. All my friends were there too. The party was awesome. It wasn't a bad party. The music was good and the snacks were delicious. My friends weren't bored. They were pretty happy. Estuve en la fiesta anoche. Todos mis amigos estuvieron también ahí. La fiesta estuvo asombrosa. No fue una mala fiesta. La música estuvo bien y las botanas estuvieron deliciosas. Mis amigos no estaban aburridos. Estuvieron bastante contentos. As you noticed, the verb to be in past uses two different conjugations with different subjects. Como notaste, el verbo to be en pasado utiliza dos conjugaciones diferentes con diferentes sujetos. Así que necesitas recordar esto. Para las personas I, he, she, it, la conjugación será was. Para las personas we, you, they, la conjugación será were. How do we make negatives? Check these sentences. It wasn't a bad party. My friends weren't bored. As you can see, we make negatives by adding not to the conjugations. Was not equals wasn't. Were not equals weren't. ¿Cómo hacemos oraciones negativas? Como puedes observar en las oraciones, a la conjugación le agregamos not para poder hacer oraciones negativas o sus contracciones wasn't or weren't. Now let's remember the simple past. We use this tense to express past events or complete actions in the past. Let's see some examples. Ahora recordemos el pasado simple. Usamos este tiempo para expresar eventos pasados o acciones completas en el pasado. Veamos algunos ejemplos. I had a wonderful day last week. My family and I went to Acapulco. We visited many places, but we didn't visit the Roqueta. We ate some seafood. My brother rode a banana, and my sister played in the sand. We didn't want to get back home because the place was wonderful. Tuve un maravilloso día la semana pasada. Mi familia y yo estuvimos en la playa. Visitamos muchos lugares, pero no visitamos la Roqueta. Comimos mariscos. Mi hermano montó la banana y mi hermana jugó en la arena. No queríamos regresar a casa porque el lugar estaba maravilloso. In this tense, you could observe affirmative structures. We visited many places. We ate some seafood. Just remember that we need subject plus simple past verb plus complement. It is also really important that you know some regular and irregular verbs and its forms in past. En este tiempo pudiste observar estructuras afirmativas. Visitamos muchos lugares, comimos mariscos. Solo recuerda que para estas oraciones necesitamos un sujeto, más un verbo en pasado, más un complemento. Es importante también que conozcas algunos verbos regulares e irregulares. Existen muchas listas de verbos que puedes utilizar. Also, in this tense, you could observe negative structures. We didn't visit the Roqueta. We didn't want to get back. In these forms, we need subject plus did not or didn't plus simple present verb plus complement. Important, in negative forms, the verb is in simple present because we use the negative auxiliary didn't. Don't forget it. También pudiste observar estructuras negativas. En estas formas necesitamos al sujeto, al auxiliar did y a la partícula not, y un verbo en presente simple. Es importante que recuerdes que en oraciones negativas el verbo siempre irá en presente, ya que el auxiliar did lleva la idea del verbo al pasado. Esperamos que este repaso haya sido de utilidad. Recuerda que estos temas ya fueron abordados en semestres anteriores, así que continuemos. We hope the review of these tenses had been helpful to you. Remember that you have seen those topics before, so let's continue. Esperamos que este repaso de tiempos haya sido de ayuda. Recuerda que ya has visto estos temas antes. Así que continuemos.
¿Qué te pareció este video? ¿Alcanzaste a recordar los contenidos? Pero déjame hacerte una nueva pregunta. ¿Recuerdas los verbos modales o los modal verbs? ¿Sí? ¿No? Vamos a recordarlos.
What is with? We all have the same question, right? Well, in the first place, would is a modal verb. Would es un verbo modal. In present intentions, it modifies the verb in Spanish, giving the ending ría, rías, ríamos y rían. Con una intención en presente, would le da una terminación al verbo en español ría, rías, ríamos y rían. It is used for polite requests, para pedir cosas amablemente. And for second and third conditional, para segundo y tercer condicional. Let's look at the following examples. Modal verb. I would visit you. Te visitaría. In Spanish, it changes the verb's ending. I would study. Estudiaría. For polite requests. I would like to eat chicken, please. Me gustaría comer pollo, por favor. Conditionals. Second conditional. If I were a superhero, I would help poor people. Si fuera un superhéroe, ayudaría a la gente pobre. Third conditional. If I had had my powers, I would have helped people. Si hubiese tenido mis poderes, hubiese ayudado a las personas. And remember, for conversational purposes, would is reduced to apostrophe D. Examples. I would, I'd. You would, you'd. He would, he'd. She would, she'd. It would, it'd. We would, we'd. You would, you'd. They would, they'd. Let's look at the following examples. I play in the simple form. I would play. I would not play in the negative form. Or I wouldn't play, using a contraction. And remember to use apostrophe D for conversational purposes. This is how would and the verb like is used in affirmative, interrogative, and negative statements. Would like. I would like to eat pizza. Would you like to eat pizza? Yes, I would. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't like to eat pizza. Let's have a review at the structure. Affirmative statements. Subject plus would plus verb plus complement. Example. He would study English. Negative statements. Subject plus would not plus verb plus complement. Example. He would not study English. Or using the contraction wouldn't. He wouldn't study English. For questions. Would plus subject plus verb plus complement. Would you study English? Follow-up activity. Actividad de seguimiento. Imagine you are a real-life superhero, either a doctor or a nurse. What would you like to do? Imagina que eres un superhéroe de la vida real, doctor o enfermera. ¿Qué te gustaría hacer? Write on your notebook some sentences using would.
En el siguiente ejercicio aprenderás la correcta pronunciación de los modals could y would. Para esto, vamos a ver el fragmento de la siguiente película.
Hey, I'm going to give you some super pronunciation tips. Te voy a dar unos super tips de pronunciación. Sometimes we pronounce words using the same sounds we have in Spanish. It may lead to confusions while trying to communicate with native speakers. A veces utilizamos los mismos sonidos en español para pronunciar palabras, lo que puede generar malentendidos a la hora de comunicarnos con hablantes nativos del inglés. The first thing to be noticed is that the Spanish consonant L is not pronounced in these words. Primero que nada, la consonante L no se pronuncia en estas palabras. Secondly, the U sound is shorter and not that rounded as the normal U. Segundo, la U es más corta y no es tan redonda como la U normal. Lo que quedaría así: could, would, could, would. The same occurs to the negative forms. Couldn't, wouldn't, couldn't, wouldn't. Please repeat after me. They would never do that. Would. They would never do that. Could you do me a favor? Could. Could you do me a favor? I could stay longer. Could. I could stay longer. Spider-Man would save the world too. Would. Spider-Man would save the world too. Of course it takes time. Don't get frustrated. Let's watch the following video. No te frustres. Esto toma tiempo. Veamos el siguiente video.
I would
Would.
would
Weird.
would
Would.
would
Like.
like
Like. To.
toi
To.
toi
To.
toi
By.
be
By.
be
By.
be
A.
a
Hamburger.
hamburger
Hamburger.
hamburger
Hamburger.
hamburger
Ham.
ham
Bur.
burger
Ger. I would like to buy a hamburger.
I would like to buy a hamburger.
As a follow-up activity, try to pronounce the following phrases at home. Como actividad de seguimiento, pronuncia estas frases en casa. They couldn't be on time. I would be a great doctor. Could you wear a mask, please? Superman wouldn't do anything bad.
¿Alguna vez te has preguntado qué harías o qué podrías hacer si tuvieras habilidades extraordinarias diferente de los demás? Hoy vas a encontrar la respuesta a esas preguntas. El uso del segundo condicional en el idioma inglés es una estructura que te va a permitir escribir o hablar sobre situaciones irreales, poco probables o ficticias en el presente y en el futuro.
Hi everybody. Have you ever imagined being a superhero? Well, I have. ¿Alguna vez te has preguntado lo que es ser un superhéroe? Yo sí. Through the second conditional, we can suppose that we are superheroes. Utilizando el segundo condicional, podremos imaginar que lo somos. Do you find it interesting? Well, it's time to make suppositions. First of all, Batman. What would you do if you were Batman? ¿Qué harías si fueras Batman? This is what I would do. If I were Batman, I would help homeless people. It's important to pay attention to the structure. If I were Batman, I would help homeless people. How about Superman? What would you do if you were Superman? If I were Superman, I'd use my super speed to catch thieves. If I were Superman, I'd use my super speed to catch thieves. How about superheroes in general? What would you do if you were a superhero? Well, I would beat all the villains if I were a superhero. I would beat all the villains if I were a superhero. How about Wonder Woman? What would you do? I'd fight against Cheetah if I were Wonder Woman. I'd fight against Cheetah if I were Wonder Woman. Now, let's analyze the structure of the second conditional sentences. It's important to mention that second conditional is composed of two sentences or clauses, separated by a comma if the sentence starts with if. Es importante recalcar que el segundo condicional está formado por dos oraciones o cláusulas, separadas por una coma si esta comienza con if. Here you are the structure. First clause, if plus subject plus past verb, either regular or irregular, plus complement. Second clause, subject plus with plus present verb plus complement. Let's review Batman's example. If I were Batman, comma, I would help homeless people. You can notice that the second conditional sentence is separated into two clauses by a comma. It doesn't matter the type of conditional we're using. The particle if will be there. No importa el condicional que usemos. La partícula if estará incluida. It's important to mention that the verb in past will come in the same clause with if. El verbo en pasado siempre irá en la misma cláusula que if. Look at the example. If I were Batman, you can notice the verb were is in the same clause as if. In the second sentence or clause, the verb goes in its simple form and is accompanied by the modal would, which gives the ending ia to the verb. En la segunda oración o cláusula, el verbo va en su forma simple, precedida por el modal would, la cual le da la terminación ia. Notice the example. Would plus present verb plus complement. A second conditional sentence can start the other way around, with the clause that includes would first, and the clause that includes if in the second place. La oración puede comenzar al revés, con la cláusula que contiene would primero y la cláusula que contiene if después. Let's look at the example. If plus subject plus past verb plus complement, comma, subject plus would plus present verb plus complement. Now let's change it. Ahora cambiemos. Subject plus would plus present verb plus complement, if plus subject plus past verb plus complement. Let's look at the example. If I were a doctor, comma, I would help people. Second example. I would help people if I were a doctor. Notice that the comma disappears in the second example. It's worth to mention that the sentences can change their order, omitting the comma between the two sentences, without changing the meaning of the sentences.
El saber utilizar correctamente la estructura del segundo condicional o condicional tipo 2 te va a permitir hacer reflexiones orales o escritas en el idioma inglés sobre temas de importancia en nuestra sociedad y en la vida cotidiana. Hacerte más susceptible de cómo sienten y cómo actúan las demás personas, haciendo uso del valor de la empatía.
Once the learning outcomes about the use and mastery of the second conditional have been developed, you will be ready to write and create oral opinions related to your context and its situations. For example, the risk around the pandemic of COVID-19 in Mexico and the world. Use the value of empathy and experience being in the shoes of all the real heroes that risk their lives every day. Una vez alcanzados los objetivos de aprendizaje y el dominio del segundo condicional, estás listo para escribir y dar tu opinión sobre tu contexto. Por ejemplo, la pandemia de COVID-19. Usa el valor de la empatía y ponte en los zapatos de aquellos héroes reales que arriesgan sus vidas todos los días. Are you ready, hero? Now your time has come. Assuming the personality of a hero and adding the value of empathy, use your super second conditional powers to create some ideas about what you will do if you were a doctor, a nurse, a support crew, or a janitor. The real coronavirus heroes. Check the sentences out. Tomando la personalidad de un héroe y agregando el valor de la empatía, usa tus superpoderes del segundo condicional y crea tus propias ideas sobre lo que harías si fueras un doctor, una enfermera o personal de apoyo y de limpieza. Revisa los siguientes ejemplos. If I were a doctor, I'd help people who are suffering. Si fuera un médico, ayudaría a las personas que están sufriendo. I would give support at the hospital if I were a nurse. Daría apoyo al hospital si fuera una enfermera. If I were a policeman, I would protect and serve society. Si yo fuera un policía, protegería y serviría a la sociedad. I'd buy the best hospitable technology if I were the Mexican president. Compraría la mejor tecnología hospitalaria si fuera el presidente. Second conditional, negative form. Let's have a review. I wouldn't leave my house if I weren't wearing a mask. Yo no saldría de mi casa si no estuviera usando un cubrebocas. If I weren't wearing a mask, I wouldn't leave my house. Si yo no estuviera usando un cubrebocas, no saldría de mi casa. Second conditional, interrogative form. Practice these questions at home. What would I do if I were a policeman? ¿Qué haría yo si fuera un policía? Who would I help if I were a doctor? ¿A quién ayudaría si fuera un doctor? Where would I go if I felt sick? ¿A dónde iría si me sintiera enfermo?
Con todo lo que hemos visto hasta este momento, llegó la hora de una autoevaluación.
To sum up, para resumir, we use second conditional. Usamos el segundo condicional para. To talk about situations that are unreal. If I were a superhero, if I were Spider-Man. In the present or in the future. If I had a superpower. If I got a superpower. And remember, we use were with all personal pronouns. Quiz. Choose the correct option. 1. A. People might be happier if they had more superheroes. B. People might be happier if they had more superheroes. Which is the correct option? The correct option is B. We don't conjugate verbs after might. Number 2. A. If you got superpowers, you wouldn't be so tired. B. If you get superpowers, you wouldn't be so tired. Which is the correct option? The correct option is A. We use the verb in past in the same clause as if. 3. Would you save the world if you were a superhero? B. Will you save the world if you were a superhero? Which is the correct option? The correct option is A. We don't use will for second conditional statements. Number 1. We use second conditional to talk about past situations. Usamos segundo condicional para hablar de situaciones pasadas. True or false? False. We use second conditional for imaginary situations in the present or future. 2. In the second conditional, would is often contracted to apostrophe D. True or false? That is true. The contraction of would is apostrophe D. 3. We can use the if clause at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence. True or false? That is true. We can use it at the beginning or in the middle. 4. We use the second conditional to talk about situations that are possible. True or false? That is false. Second conditional is used for unreal situations.
Ser más susceptibles de lo que ocurre en nuestro alrededor nos permitirá ser más empáticos con nuestro entorno. Ponernos en los zapatos de los demás, estoy seguro, nos hará mejores personas. Recuerden, siempre que quieran hablar sobre situaciones ficticias o poco probables en el idioma inglés, hagan uso del segundo condicional. Estoy seguro que será de mucha ayuda. Bueno, recuerden quedarse en casa siguiendo todas y cada una de las recomendaciones sanitarias y de seguridad. Pórtense bien, continúen protegiéndose y nos vemos en la siguiente entrega de la materia de Inglés 5 en el espacio común de la educación media superior. Hasta pronto.
Anímense, pronto estaremos juntos conviviendo con nuestros compañeros y amigos. Mientras tanto, recuerden que al toser o estornudar deben cubrirse la boca con la parte interna del codo o con un pañuelo de papel y desecharlo de inmediato. ¡Nos vemos!